During his tenure at the FBI, he oversaw roughly 150 FBI agents in New York and headed the recruitment of foreign spies to come work for the U.S. He handled some of the most highly sensitive intelligence in his role as the FBI head of counterintelligence in New York. And now he has been federally indicted twice. His name is Charles McGonigal. He left the FBI in 2018, but this past month, the Justice Department charged McGonigal with taking and concealing over $200,000 from an Albanian intelligence officer while still working at the FBI. They also have charged McGonigal with violating U.S. sanctions by working for notorious Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska, who has close ties to Vladimir Putin. Now, the FBI alleged in its indictment that McGonigal took money from Deripaska after McGonigal left the FBI in 2018, and the investigation does not appear to concern espionage. But new reporting today from Insider is posing a handful of concerning questions about when exactly that Russian relationship began. Here's the report. In 2018, McGonigal traveled to London, where he met with a Russian contact who was under surveillance by British authorities, two U.S. intelligence sources told Insider. Insider was able to determine the year, but not the month of the meeting. The fourth source noted that regardless of whether the meeting occurred before or after McGonigal retired from the FBI in September of 2018, it suggested a serious and extended relationship. What does this all mean in terms of McGonigal's Russian contacts? Did he foster these relationships while he was at the FBI? And if so, when? Also, remember, roughly 2 years before this meeting, the FBI was the center of some very highly controversial work, including an investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails and a probe into the Trump campaign's possible links to Russia. So what can this new reporting add to our understanding of this mess? Or, as one source described it, what the F was he thinking? Joining us now is the reporter on that piece, Matt Schwartz, senior correspondent at Insider. He was the first to report on the existence of the McGonigal investigation in September and has been the lead reporter on the story with scoops galore. Matt, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me. I want to get right to the timeline here. 2018, we know this meeting happened. You suggest in the piece that it may have preceded, the correspondence between McGonigal and this Russian asset may have preceded the actual meeting. Can you tell us, how you've tried to pinpoint the month in which this meeting happened and, what intelligence you have about the degree to which there was any back and forth prior to the meeting?
Certainly. So we know that McGonigal retired from the FBI in September of 2018. And we know that this meeting with a Russian in London who was under UK surveillance also occurred in 2018. But we don't know whether he met with the Russian before or after his retirement. I've tried to pin that down. If anyone out there knows, please reach out. I've also tried to pin down exactly who this Russian is. There are some indications in the indictments that suggest it could be possibly Oleg Deripaska, but we don't know that. I reached out to Deripaska's people, and they do not want to comment about this because they have their own issues going with DOJ. Now, what we do know is that Charlie McGonigal did travel to London and did meet with a Russian who was important enough for the British to be watching. And we know that the British were concerned enough about this meeting to alert the FBI to actually ring up the U.S. Embassy in London and tell the FBI's legal attaché there, hey, this happened and we're really concerned about it. We didn't, I don't know exactly what was said, but they were worried. And we know that alert that went from the UK to the US was part of, at least part of the predication or the beginning of the FBI's investigation into McGonigal. So until that happened, it seems likely that the FBI may not have been aware that there was a problem here.
Matt, why would McGonigal go to him? I mean, he's former head of counterintelligence for the FBI in New York. He must have known that this Russian he was meeting with was under surveillance by the Brits. Wouldn't he have known that?
It is very likely that he would have known that because he would have been running the same kind of intelligence and counterintelligence operations in New York City. That was his job. So he would have known to some degree, the degree to which surveillance from the British would have penetrated London. Now, it's possible that he was just, kind of dumb and greedy and did it anyway. It's also possible that he thought this meeting was above board. Maybe he thought this sort of behavior where, if it happened after his retirement, maybe he thought going to work or speaking to this person for whatever reason was normal. It's also possible that he thought he was recruiting this person as a source. And if that's true, sometimes those kind of relationships can go both ways, and someone doesn't know what they're getting into. But it is very strange that someone in his role, would basically be caught meeting with someone who both the British and his former employers at the FBI seem to have felt rather strongly that he should not have been meeting with. So why did he do this? And this is something that the folks I talked to for this story asked over and over again. What was he thinking here? Because it really seems like either a real miscalculation or a blunder that you wouldn't expect someone in such a senior role to make when the stakes are this high.
Matt Schwartz, your reporting on this has been relentless and illuminating. Thank you for all of it. We will follow the story as you post. Senior correspondent at Insider, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's a pleasure.